I found out earlier today that Ford's CEO, Jim Farley, has now become MAGA. He's going to join the administration and he's going to do something. I'm not sure what he's going to do for the administration. He's going out and talking about how great Trump is. And as a result, Ford's sales and earnings dropped like a rock. Did you see that story?
I didn't see that story. I did see that I saw their earnings, saw their sales, saw GM, saw Lucid, saw Rivian's. Man, Elon really has to get back to Tesla to help these sales out, Randy. It's clearly Elon's doing Doge and distracted problem. Clearly.
I just, it's just these guys having all term MAGA in the same quarter. It's just amazing to me.
It's crazy. Just insane.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, what do we think about Ford in particular? I think Ford's was the worst, right? I mean, well, Lucid, they're out of business. It's just a matter of the Saudis. But what about Ford's numbers? Were they? I think that was kind of a shock.
Well, maybe we can debrief on the numbers a little bit. I don't
Okay,
know if you have them in front of you. Um,
I don't.
okay, then maybe we don't do that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if you had them in front of you. But yeah, look, I think everyone's going through a transition right now. I think GM's the only one that's kind of a bit of an anomaly here, I would say.
Yeah.
But I feel like GM is I feel like GM is BlackBerry before iPhone crushed BlackBerry, meaning the sales and the margins, all that kept going up after the iPhone was launched for I think like another like several quarters,
Right.
and then things crash. And I think GM's kind of getting the last like you know uh, uh, good quarters here, and I feel like a lot of it's artificial. It's hard to really tell.
Mhm.
I didn't spend too much time on the numbers because frankly, I just don't care about it anymore.
Right.
I know
Right.
where it's all going. Um, but they do a lot of things with buybacks and how they kind of restructure their debt and
Yeah.
how they deal with their dealership. So it's hard to like really get signal from all the noise. And I don't want to even act. I'm not trying to imply that they're doing anything that's not kosher.
Sure.
They're pulling the levers they have at their disposal as they should, as good stewards of stockholders. But my point is, for someone who's just trying to look at the raw data to see what's actually going on, the health of the business, it's really hard to tell. Um, but yeah, I mean, you're seeing this across the board, Randy. I don't think any automaker is doing well. And why would they? We're in a slowing economy. We see inflation's coming down. Things are becoming deflationary. Rates are still high in the United States. So that affects auto loans, and all these OEMs are trying to, make interest rates a non-issue, which they kind of are working on that aspect. But the bigger problem is that people still don't want to take out big debt in this type of economy where there's a lot of uncertainty. So I think this is just par for the course, and there's only one thing that can solve this issue for OEMs, and that's how I see it.
Okay. All right. And we'll get to that in part two. All
Got
right.
the
So,
hook in there.
yeah, there's a hook in there. So, and then Tesla specifically, I started talking about this over the weekend because you know that I'm known as the optimist, the total optimist on all this stuff. So I thought I would be try to be the first one to kind of break this idea that the only fly in the ointment for Tesla to me right now is the unit sales numbers. That as we move towards the Robotaxi and the Model Q, that these two catalysts are huge. At least Robotaxi is for me, and Model Q is for other people. I think Model Q could be a good catalyst, but I'm not as positive on that as I am on Robotaxi. So, but the one negative would be that traders in particular might see these softer numbers in Europe in particular, maybe some soft numbers in the United States, and be nervous and not be as likely to get in on the FOMO move as I was expecting them to.
Um, as somebody who trades, uh, I would say that. the reason that we're holding up at these levels, it seems to me, just look at it from a trader lens, not an investor lens at the moment, and my current point of view. I think what's happening is people are waiting to see a couple things. One, they're waiting to see what happens with the Fed. They don't want to. Today was all about jockeying for position. That's what today was. Everybody, Tesla or anything, everyone was jockeying for position. Hence, it was a neutral day.
Right.
You could see across the board, pretty much nothing really moved other than gold.
Right.
So everybody was jockeying for position on what's going to happen. And every single day so far, we've seen that the markets open down just to recover towards the end of the day. I think tomorrow you'll see it the opposite way. We'll have a flat morning until Jerome Powell starts speaking or the Fed news comes out, and then that's when you'll see the market move. So it'll be a little inverted. But with regards to Tesla, I think, one, they don't want to get in front of the Fed meeting. And then I think they're also waiting. I think if there's going to be a move, it's probably going to be in the last 2 weeks of May where you'll start to see it going into June. As imagine, we'll get a little more sneak peeks or a few more posts on X from Elon or Tesla, and that'll probably start to get a little movement. But I wouldn't be surprised if we are still in this 270 to call it like 315 range going into June. And I think FOMO is what's keeping the stock up right now.
Right.
So I do think like we are seeing your FOMO at the moment.
Right.
I think that's what's sustaining the stock at these levels, even maybe pushing it up. We saw a bit of 294 a little bit.
Right.
So anything that we see, like I would say from here to 315 is kind of that FOMO move. It's not a $100 move that maybe everybody wants, but I think you'll probably see a real move once Tesla actually launches the Robotaxi, once we actually see, is there a driver behind the wheel or not? Once we see, okay, is it 10, 20 vehicles? All right. Who all has access to it? How fast do we go to 30 vehicles, 40 vehicles, 50? What's the zone? Like once we get a little more detailed, that's when I think you can start to see this move. But until then, I think everything's going to be kind of patient.
So that's the fundamental side of Tesla, but Tesla has also been following the macro around, except for a couple of days the last 3 weeks. It has been, and certainly yesterday and today, it's been following the macro. So if the macro gets more risk on, which I think we'll talk about again in a minute, the news today might have created a macro environment where we might see some positive things. The pre-market is definitely up right now pretty strongly on the equities. So we could be looking at a macro move that might move the stock as well. And if it's strong enough, we could be, moving back to, the 6,200 level on the S&P, which would probably put Tesla up 100 points.
I would take the under on that.
You take the
I would
under.
say, yeah, I would say Tesla. I don't think you're going to see a big move on Tesla until we actually see some. Like I'll put it this way: I don't think we see a big move in Tesla until end of summer, fall.
And there's a big move on Tesla. Okay.
Yeah.
Even if the macro goes up by 7-10%. So if the S&P goes, I usually figure if the S&P goes up 7%, then the NASDAQ goes up 10%, which means Tesla goes up 20% or more, maybe 25%.
Okay, so that's a $40, $50 move. That's still
okay.
Yeah. That puts us at 315, 320, right? So it's kind of same range I was talking about before. So I think, like I said, I think call it 270 to 320, 315. I think that's our range, even through Robotaxi launch. If macro does well, everything, if we, Trump meets with China, we start getting some calmer heads out there. Because also, don't forget, we're going into the slower season right now as well, right? Sell in May.
Oh yeah,
and go away, right? That's a real thing.
Yeah.
But that's just my point of view. I don't see any big rips up. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. That'd be nice.
So one of the things that's been bantied around a lot the last couple of days, in fact, I think I also started it Saturday morning. So I think I created it, but
One of those rumors that have gotten out of hand. I don't know where it came from. I mean, I started it, but
well, it wasn't exactly a rumor. It was what I think is going to happen on the first day of the Tesla, I mean, of Robotaxi, or the first week of the first month. Actually, I went as far as the whole first year. But I started, as I commonly do, I like to think as a marketer and look ahead, what should happen on that first day? Because I've opened up lots of new stores, my clients and my own. I've opened hundreds of new products. You got to think, okay, what's going to happen? And you got to have your plan B and C and D ready to go if it doesn't hit the numbers you think is going to happen. So if you don't think ahead on these things, you can get crushed. So I thought, okay, what's really going to happen? Because people are like, well, it might take a few weeks. And I'm going, wait a minute. There's, I don't know, what, 40,000 employees for Tesla in Austin? And there's probably another 10,000 employees of suppliers for Tesla in Austin. And then there's their family members and their friends and their neighbors. And then there's people that own Tesla vehicles in Austin. And then there's people that own Tesla stock. And then there's people that are just fanboys. So there's a huge, and then there's the reporters that are going to be coming to town. And then I put it up on X, and all these people are saying, oh, well, I'm going to be there the first week because I want to ride. I'm going to drive from Dallas. I'm going to drive from Cincinnati. All these people are going to be coming to ride in the car. And out of all of that noise, only one person said something which helped, I think, and maybe it's going to happen. They said, well, maybe Tesla is going to do what Uber did in the early, or is it Uber or Waymo, one of the two, or maybe both. When they go in a new city, it's by invitation only for the first week.
Randy, I've been saying this for like 6 months.
Not to me. Not to me. You haven't said that to me.
I'm pretty sure I said that last week to you.
No, you didn't. No.
We're going to have to go back and rewind, watch the tapes. I have been saying this for a while. That's the only thing that makes sense. And I think it's going to start only with employees. I don't think any of us are going to get
I remember you
it.
saying about the employees. Okay. I do remember you said that. But what about, so you think there might be invitations also?
I don't think might. I think it has to be.
Has to. Okay.
Because you want to control the experience.
Right.
And if you just open up to everybody, then nobody's going to have good times or decent time to pick up or to drop offs.
Mm-hmm.
And then in order to deal with the demand surge, because even if it's like, even if there's nothing around, people are still going to want to try it just for the novelty of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to create crazy demand, which the only way to slow that down is by increasing prices. And now you're more expensive than Uber. Well, that's not a good light for what the vision's supposed to be. So the only way to do it is to roll out invite only as you get coverage in areas. And it'll probably start with employees only. And it'll probably be based on your zip code, and it'll probably slowly expand. But that's the only way you control the experience. And it'll probably go from, it'll probably be like this, from employees to Tesla owners at a given zip code, and it'll probably expand from there. Mm-hmm. Or maybe it won't be Tesla owners. Maybe it will be Tesla investors in a given zip code. Mm-hmm. Will be the next tranche. Oh, who knows? But you have to throttle it. You have to.
Or you could just open it up and say, put in your reservation ahead of time. And if you put in a reservation, then you've got your invitation.
I think you want people that you know are going to be good stewards.
Okay. All right.
And so I think you start with employees, shareholders, Tesla owners, and then you can go into other people. You don't want to start off with I don't know, you know who I'm talking about. I don't even say it.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to start with those people. There's to quote a very unpopular quote from a CEO of Lululemon once said, there are certain customers we don't want in our stores. And there are certain customers we don't want in Tesla's Robotaxis at the start.
Right. Okay, so invitation only. Now, the thing I've been saying on the other side of that has been, well, if there is huge demand, there's no real reason that I can think of other than wanting to test out all the systems. There's no real reason why Tesla can't put as many cars as they want to into that demand situation. So
Yeah, I would say it's going to be a logistics problem that they have to solve.
Okay.
And so it's one thing to, and I imagine they're working on that right now with what they have with humans,
Mhm.
but that's probably at a 10 to 20 vehicle size. Going from 10 to 20 to 40 is a doubling,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? Then to 80, that's another doubling, right?
Right.
Like it,
Right.
and the problem statement changes. You don't know what you don't know yet as you grow. I think in that, and I think Austin's gonna be the slowest city for sure
Mhm.
to do this in,
Mhm.
because they're gonna solve. I think they're gonna solve all the problems between Austin and San Fran. They'll solve all these problems to where as they go in other cities beyond San Fran or Austin, you're gonna see the rollout happen faster. But I think there's gonna be a lot of little nitpicky things that they're gonna have to solve for that they don't know they have to solve for yet. And I think that's gonna be the reason why this is gonna be a slower rollout, and it needs to be slower because again, you want to control the experience.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. All right. So then that could provide some of the FOMO because that would have to be explained, to your point, maybe starting a couple of weeks beforehand. They want to start explaining how that rollout's going to happen because otherwise you're going to have fanboys and girls driving in from all over the freaking, Southwest to be there the first week, hoping to get a ride. So Tesla's going to have to alert these people that maybe they should wait till the end of the month or into July before they start coming down for the rides.
Uh, well, I'm not sure that's how it'll work, but yeah. I mean, do you really think people are going to come down for the rides and they're going to be let in?
Well, my point is you don't want them to come down and be disappointed. So you have to explain this process. You have to explain that it's going to be employees only first for the first 10 days or week or whatever, and then we're going to increase it, and then it'll be invitation only for the next week or 10 days, whatever. You have to give some kind of a play-by-play, or these fans, I mean, there's a lot of people in Texas alone, okay? It is now, the four of the largest 10 cities in the country are in Texas. Five of the top 13 are in Texas, and they're not that far away from each other.
You've got those numbers off your head, but you don't have the Ford numbers.
I happen to be very interested in demographics. You know this about me. So
Um,
I've been watching this movement into Texas. It's crazy.
yeah, I don't disagree with you that they should probably say something, but I kind of have a feeling this is just going to be a last minute, do like a little ribbon cutting kind of thing with you know Greg Abbott or something. Just I don't know. I feel like they're not going to make a big deal about it.
Okay, well, if they're listening to the show right now, and Sir Basher and I on Thursday night are going to really dig in. He just did a beautiful post on X, very nice post on X, where he talks about some of his theories. So they will be doing that on Thursday night. But if they're listening to the show or they're watching other people's shows or certainly listening to this, I would highly recommend that they start a couple of weeks ahead of time, letting the fans know kind of how it's going to play out, because otherwise I mean, I can't tell you. I only have 14,000 followers on X, and I got a huge number of people talking about driving down and wanting to have the first ride.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be interesting. I imagine that they're gonna make a post about it and do a little ceremony, but I don't think they're gonna give a lot of details. It'll probably just be more, maybe Elon says something about the future. I don't know. I don't mean to be like pessimistic about it. I think that it's gonna be slow. And when I say slow, take that with a grain of salt. I'm just saying I understand how the Tesla community is like, okay, we're going to launch in Austin and we should be able to expand in Texas. And by the end of the year, we're in like 3 states. And then from there, by the end of next year, we got, Elon said millions, we'll have 1 million vehicles and we're in, essentially in every state and in Europe and in China. It's like, I would hedge against that. I would keep your expectations lower. I would I would say maybe we'll be in 2 cities by the end of the year, and I think anything above that would be excellent. I think a bare minimum, hopefully, 2 cities in 2 different states. And then next year, hopefully we've done enough testing where next year can be the year that we start to really scale this out, and we go from there. But I would be cautious about just look at how long it took Waymo and Cruise to allow other people to join their services. It didn't just happen quickly, and it's not because of a LiDAR thing or a safety driver thing. I think it's because you're essentially a conductor of all these moving parts in real time, with someone calling a vehicle at a new location at random that you don't even know where it's going to be, so you can't pre-think about it. So there's all these moving parts that you have to constantly think about and orchestrate, and then we got to charge and we got to clean the vehicles. So it's going to be something they have to think about. Yeah. And what happens when Randy leaves his phone in the vehicle in an accident, and he needs it back, there's things that happen.
Okay, so the flip side of this, which other people are not talking about, which I thought was actually in some ways the more interesting part of the discussion, is how few vehicles it takes out there every day, all day, to get meaningful miles, to where you start to get meaningful numbers with regard to how many accidents per mile, how many millions of miles per accident. And why is that meaningful? Because all of a sudden that's telling people, hey, it's safe enough to do this. It's telling cities and governors and mayors and presidents of countries and CEOs, and transportation departments, hey, these guys have now got 7 million miles and they've only had one accident, or whatever the numbers are. Just like Waymo's doing now, and 𝐑𝐴MA has also got a interactive website now that tells, I guess, on a day-to-day basis what their miles are and how many accidents. So I'm hoping Tesla does something like that, but I think that's going to be almost as important as how fast the rollout happens, is getting these miles and showing how safe it is.
Yeah. It's just speak on that safety perspective. I looked this up just to make sure I wasn't wrong before I say this. But yeah, this says auto accidents fall under or are ranked as the #1 causes of toddler fatality in the United States. Specifically, motor vehicle crashes are a leading contributor within the category, alongside drowning for kids ages 1 to 4. Mm-hmm. So the #1, kids aged 1 to 4, cause of death when it comes to unintentional injuries is car accidents. Oh. Just think about that. How sad is that?
Yeah.
That's that's crazy. That's something we could eliminate.
Yeah. Somebody who's got one on the way.
Yeah. This was one of those things that I always wanted autonomy because I thought it would change cities. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was the future. Mm-hmm. But when I saw this metric about toddlers, I was like, oh man, that's that's a problem that this is very solvable.
Yeah.
It's not like curing cancer where we're like, oh, it's going to take a lot of research. We're going to have to figure it out. We don't know what we don't know. This is solvable. We could eliminate the #1 cause of death for toddlers, 1 to 4 in the United States.
Indeed.
That's so heavy. If you just sit with it, I don't know.
All right. Well, here's something else to sit with. Put your seatbelt on, because this is bigger than most people, I think it, or maybe people don't even know about it yet. So we may be breaking news for a lot of people.
Oh.
So Elon Musk, a little while ago, he bought this company called Twitter. Everybody says, oh no, the Twitter overhang, and he'll be so, he'll be off doing Twitter and he won't be paying attention to Tesla. Then he added this other little company as a division of X called XAI, and now he's built the largest LLM computer by far in the world, which by the end of next year will be probably 5 times the size of anybody else's LLM computer. And now Grok is offering the fastest numbers on 5 different categories. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to correct you in a respectful way.
Okay.
Not 5 times the size of anybody else's. They are already 5 times the size of anyone else. They will be 5 times the size of what they are currently. So yes. Currently, they have a 200,000 server cluster.
Right.
Okay, or not server. That's the wrong metric.
Uh,
200,000 GPU
GPUs. Right.
cluster.
Right.
They aim to be a million
Right.
GPU cluster.
Yes.
I think Facebook is the kind of number two in this game, and I think the biggest that they have had is 37.
37. All in one cluster.
Yes, yes. So,
Yes. Yeah.
uh, yeah. So
I wasn't going to go that far in the weeds, but yes, I agree with you. I only know this because of Brian Wong is always telling me all these details. But anyway,
yeah,
yeah, so they're just massive, just massive. So now you've got this huge cluster in Memphis. Well, today, Palantir, some little company, I don't know, they're kind of maybe the biggest darling on Wall Street all of a sudden, even though their stock is way down today because maybe they were a little too far out in the stratosphere. But they may be passing Jensen as the darling, and all of a sudden you're seeing the Palantir CEO everywhere on every show. Anyway, Palantir, TWG Global, the three, they have now combined with XAI to create this partnership where they are going to be providing bank services to all the mid-sized and small banks. Well, I mean, they expect to, they intend to. But anyway, this is, I think, huge that Elon has now gotten into this partnership with Palantir, of all people. It's just one more, and this will just, all of these things you think, oh, well, what does that have to do with Tesla? Of course it has to do with Tesla. It has to do with this Elonosphere that's being created where banking and LLM and Twitter, well, X now, communication, SpaceX, I mean, the whole thing, it becomes this mega effort that clearly impacts Tesla as a company.
yeah. I think it's interesting. I don't know. Did you happen to read Alex Karp's shareholder letter?
I didn't.
So Alex Karp is hmm, a unique individual. There's a word for it. I can't think of it right now. Sorry, my vocabulary is failing me. Um, but he's unique, and if you read it, you would think that he's a very MAGA person, but he's actually not. He's very Democratic, even though leaning, even though the Democratic Party, Silicon Valley, essentially, discarded him a long time ago. Hence why they moved out of Silicon Valley. But they do have a mutual connection through Peter Thiel, who Peter Thiel was him and Elon have the PayPal background. He was I believe he was the main backer of Palantir when it began.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, backer of whole lots of things.
Yeah. But if you read Alex Karp's letter, you would read it as if you could easily say like, that sounds like something Elon would write. So I think the way they view the world is very aligned,
Nice.
and they're both. If you like to invest in a company, in an Elon company, a lot of times it's because you like Elon and you like how outspoken he is and the way he thinks. Alex Karp is almost like Elon 1.5. He's very similar, more polished than Elon, speaks clearly, kind of goes for the throat the way you would want. He doesn't take anything from anybody, and he's somebody who can't be bought. So I'm not surprised by this partnership. This partnership actually makes a lot of sense in many ways, and I think it was inevitable in many ways to see these two link up.
Interesting. Yeah. So like I say, the combination of all of the Elon enterprises just becomes that much stronger, I think, with this partnership. And it also gives XAI. I mean, holy mackerel, the folks that got early investments on that must be really happy today because that's gotta increase the value right there. As somebody said on one of the interviews I saw today, most of the companies that have got AI after their name right now are not necessarily making any money. They're just spending money, or they're asking you to spend money, but not able to show an ROI, where Palantir is shining. is that they're showing tremendous amounts of ROI on the products that or services that they're providing their customers.
Yeah. Oh, hey, buddy. Sorry. What was the question again, or what was the comment?
There's no question. I just said that they're providing actual ROI to their customers at
Oh,
Palantir.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I've said this a lot on your show, so don't tell me I haven't said this one. But there really is only. Yeah. Honestly, I don't even consider. I'm gonna get shot for saying this. I don't even consider Palantir an AI company. I would consider them more of a professional services meets machine learning meets ML AI pipeline creation setup.
Okay.
And they have interesting ontology that kind of overlays everything. But that's maybe I'm getting a little too idiosyncratic in what AI is. But to me, AI is something that you build that's kind of making it's reasoning based on its interpretation of the world, not just simply by, this is going to sound weird, but not simply by recognizing patterns, which you might say, well, that's all we're doing with neural nets and all that. But I would argue that neural nets aren't just recognizing patterns, that they're doing something novel.
Right.
And they are reasoning.
Right.
Because they're taking in a rule and a world view and a rule set that it's learned from, and then it's throwing new challenges that's never seen, and it's making the best decision based on that. And I think that's what AI is. So I don't think NVIDIA does that. I don't think Palantir does. I mean, maybe they do, and it's just not something that they openly talk about, because when you look it up, like, it really looks like they're just professional services, helping ETL their company's datas, really do a lot of change management, set up ML pipelines. Like that's what it looks like to me, all that they do, which is a lot. And it's something that companies suck at. So there's a huge value add. But again, I don't classify that under AI. And so I see very few companies that are actually doing anything that's AI other than Tesla.
So I think what Palantir was saying again in the same interview was that right now, what they're famous for is they come in and they take your data as it is, whether you're the government, whether you're a corporation, they take your data and they say, we will take your data and we will organize it in a way you've never organized it before. And as a result of organizing it a new way and providing an AI overlay on it, we will give you the ability to use that data more effectively and efficiently than you've ever used it before, which is where the ROI comes into. I think what they're looking at now is, what he seems to be saying now is, by hooking up with XAI and hooking up with that Memphis data center, now we'll be able to go to the next level where we will be able to handle data of a kind and a type that we've never handled before. And we'll be able to analyze that data at a level that we've never been able to analyze it before, taking us to the next level.
Yeah. So I would say TBD. The reason I say that is because, like, you talk about in the financial space, I don't see banks letting any data outside of their environment. And they would have to leave their environment to go train on anything XAI has. So that would be interesting how they do the data governance for that.
And they actually brought that up specifically as well.
Oh, okay.
Part of the reason they need this level of analysis that they can get from XAI is because of the regulatory constraints and being able to use the systems that are possible in that data center to be able to thread their way through the regulatory problems.
Yeah,
Like
we'll see. Just because this is everything we talked about. What Palantir does is essentially the world that I'm in with
Right.
a lot of my clients and what we do. And so I'm very familiar with and my clients are fast moving. They're
Uh-huh.
not like financial service companies. Like my
Right.
clients want to break glass, want to move fast, they want to build. So we're moving at a very accelerated pace. And even then, I can see data governance is such a big thing, and companies are really bad at it. I mean, again, everything you described about is exactly what I was saying. What Palantir does,
Right.
they
Right.
come in, they ETL data, they put, they create nice data lakes for companies so that all the schemas are set up right, the table are set up right, so that then it can be used for machine learning. And yes, they probably create a dashboard that overlays everything, where now they can get insights into their data they didn't have before. Great, cool. That's not AI. That's
Mhm.
traditional
Right.
machine learning.
Right.
AI, as we talk about today, to me invokes reasoning,
Mhm.
not just seeing patterns in the data, showing you things that you didn't know based on the data you have, but more so what Tesla does. I'm driving, I'm taking the world, let me predict about what happens next versus here's my data. Do you see anything interesting in the data?
Mhm. Mhm.
Ah, yes. There's a difference there.
I hear you.
One's
Yep.
forward
Yep.
looking, one's telling you what the data is.
Yep. Yep. Mhm. Okay. It'll be interesting to watch this, but I do think it's a big plus for the Tesla world, for the entire, as I say, Elonosphere. Okay, let's get to the big announcement that happened just a couple hours before we started this conversation that changed everything today. So the White House announced that two emissaries, I think Lutnick, no, not Lut, who's it? The number one trade guy. I'm sorry, the number one
Besant?
No, yeah, Besant. Yes, Besant, and one other one I forget of the White House staff will be in Switzerland this week. They were already going to be in Switzerland, but now they will have specific trade discussions with China. So this was announced just a couple of hours ago, and something happened. You were telling me about the gold.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Let's see. I don't have gold in front of me for, well, hold on. Everyone can be a little patient for accuracy. So let's look.
Sure.
Let's look. Okay. So let's look at one day. Does this have? Yes, it does. Okay. So we closed today for gold at, call it, I don't know, call it 3,430.
Right.
We ran up all the way up to 3,441. And then if you look at it, we dropped all the way down to 3,380. Now we're about 3,400. Point being is, why did that happen? That happened the second it was reported that this meeting was occurring between the Chinese United States this week
And
in
gold had been
Europe.
going up. It went up a lot.
Gold
And
has
today.
ripped
Yeah.
over the last 2 days,
Yes. Yes.
annoyingly,
Annoyingly.
consistently.
So it had ripped higher and then it paired back after the announcement of the meeting this week. And I think you mentioned that Tesla was doing exactly the opposite. It had kind of been soft going into well, actually it was before the close. It shot up just before the close. So maybe
Well, after the market closed, Tesla went all the way down to 271,
oh, okay.
$271. Excuse me, $273. And then that announcement came out. You can look at a big fat two green
Okay.
candles, and then
Okay.
went all the way up to 279, and now it's
Wow.
sitting at 278.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it everything inverted, right? We literally went from risk off to risk on.
Right. 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 Exactly. Yeah. So everybody's been saying, of course, I mean, it's not like it's not brain science that if there started to be a couple of agreements from India, from United Kingdom, from Vietnam, some of these ones that were at the top of the list of some of these actually started coming in as signed and sealed. And then if there was any kind of movement in China, any of those and any combination of those would cause the market to start going back into gear again. And so we've had that first thing. Now that's not the end of it. There has to be a meeting. There has to be some results, but it is the beginning. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's it's the first step of many steps I'll probably take to get to something. But I think the ball's in our court. You know, like the we've got the cards to use Trump's language.
Yes.
China doesn't really have the cards at the moment, and the most recent economic data shows that. Um, I mean, you can make the argument that we haven't seen the impacts of tariff yet. I can't argue against that because only time will tell.
Right.
But right now, as far as what we do know, it's that Chinese data is coming out not good. Ours is coming out very good. So I don't know. That tells me that we can be more patient, and China's not exactly in that same boat.
So I've been putting out this theory since Friday night. Larry and I have talked about it a couple of times. He agrees with me in part and doesn't agree with me in part, which is normal, and that's good. I'm glad that he doesn't always agree 100%. I'm saying two things. Two things in particular is that the Wall Street Journal reporting that U.S. manufacturers are getting slammed. If people have any capacity in their plastic plants or their metal plants or their rubber plants or whatever it is that they make in manufacturing, if they've got excess capacity, they are getting phone calls. Even if they don't have excess capacity, they're getting phone calls. Wall Street Journal interviewed 5 different people. One said they were putting on additional shifts. The other one said they were opening up lines that have been closed for 4 years because China had been stealing their business. Whirlpool said that they're increasing their capacity to produce washers and dryers. So you've got a tremendous, apparently, situation where U.S. goods, people who are requiring finished goods, are now turning to U.S. manufacturers because they think it's going to be the place to buy. This is happening now.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, just think of how many more people they have to hire for that. Opening up plants, and with scale comes better scales of economy. But I would also say, just going back to where the pressure is, and to add to what you're talking about there, it's not just the economic data that's putting pressure on China. Like China would have loved for us to have bad numbers, right?
Yeah.
They would have loved to see inflation spiking and whatever, but nope, not the case. But the other thing is, the longer, and this is why I really don't think this will drag out too long. The longer this lasts, this tariff issue, the more incentive companies have to divest away from China.
Right.
Going back to your point, looking at U.S. manufacturing, because now at this point, in the last 5 years, this is the second disruption that has caused by being in China.
Mm-hmm.
And do you really want to keep having these headaches? It's
yeah.
It's not fun.
Mattel decided today. I mean, it's pretty funny because Trump just got in all this kickback because he was talking about dolls for Christmas. But the fact of the matter is, Mattel makes most of their products in China, and Mattel said, "Nope, gonna move it. We're out of China." At least for some of their stuff. So they're yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, and I think for a lot of companies, it was something that they've probably thought about a lot.
Heck yeah.
Like, oh man, we're really all in on China. If something were to happen, probably not great. And then COVID happens, and then that, you can kind of be like, well, maybe we moved a little bit out of China. We still have a lot of risk in China, and now it's just kind of, well, look at India. Especially if you were there initially for low cost labor.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, Mexico is the lowest cost labor in the world now.
Right.
And then you still have India and you still have Vietnam. But you still can't underestimate, there's a lot of high tech skilled labor in China.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the stuff that you're not going to be able to just move easily.
Yeah, that's going to be a big part of it, and things like machining, making molds, things of that nature is going to be one of the areas that's going to be the most difficult. But again, this is not new. It started in Japan, it went to Taiwan, it went to South Korea, it went to China. We've seen this we've seen this movie before. At least you've been in business in the import export business as long as I have. I've watched this process. As with something as romantic as the bicycle. Is now one of my clients is a Trek dealer, and we noticed just a couple of months ago that some of the Trek bikes are now made in Cambodia. We're like, oh, we didn't know that.
That's interesting. Yeah, I also think there's a lot to be excited about when it comes to manufacturing coming back into the States, because I think bringing manufacturing back into the States will create a lot of high-paying jobs, which I don't know why it's so counterintuitive for people to think about this. It's like everybody just has this like old assembly line picture in their head of, a Ford, assembly line going down. But, if it's coming to the States, you're not going to have advantages based on cheap labor. So that means you have to have very sophisticated automation, robotics, state-of-the-art factories. And that requires a lot of special skills and talents.
Right.
And that comes with, high-paying jobs. So I think there's a lot of upside to that for growth in our economy and, helping the cost of living for a lot of people, home ownership. I mean, I see a lot of upside to it. Obviously, it takes a lot of investments into the country just to do that to begin with, right? But I don't know. I don't know why people are so down on manufacturing in the States.
Well, we've proven, I made this list the other day to see if I can do it by heart. So you've got Tesla, or you got Elon Musk making automobiles, rockets, motors, actuators, everything that goes into a humanoid robot, machinery that does underground boring, very specialized equipment for medical implantations of devices in your brain, as well as the devices themselves that go into the brain. Let's see, what am I missing here? Chips. All of these things he's making in the United States. He never went, oh, poor me. I need to make these overseas someplace where the labor's cheap. So if he can make that swath of products in the United States successfully, it seems like hardly anything maybe that can't be. Maybe it shouldn't be, because sometimes there are benefits to making something in another place. But it seems, based on my experience as a manufacturer, I'm not sure there's anything that can't be successfully and profitably made in the States.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, not saying that we have to make everything,
Right.
But, a lot of the cool state-of-the-art things, why wouldn't we manufacture that ourselves?
Right. All right. Well, listen, let's take a look at where the markets are now. And
can I just say one other thing?
Absolutely.
Like,
two more.
If I'm not
Two more.
Two more. I just need one more. If I'm not, I should have looked this up before saying this, but I'm pretty sure. Like, everyone talks about the United States, like we're just a services economy and we don't know how to manufacture anything, but sorry, I'm typing. But I'm pretty sure, as I verify this, that we are one of, if not the second top manufacturing country in the world.
I think you're right. Yes.
We are. We're the second. It's
Yeah.
China, the United States, Japan, Germany, India. Yeah. So, to just assume that like we're just a services economy, I think is a lack of understanding and knowledge of where we stand on, the global footing when it comes to manufacturing.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I think, like I said, I'll say it again. I think the biggest trouble that we're going to have is going to be in this machine tooling space. where we do not have a lot of people that don't know how to run a CAD CAM. We don't have a lot of people that know how to build a mold or to do these kind of intricate machine tooling kinds of things. But I'm not sure that that's in the modern era. I'm not sure that you need to go through a 5-year apprenticeship to know how to do that stuff. I think you can probably teach it a lot faster than that.
Not just that, but you can hire people from other countries to come
It
and
had that.
teach and learn. Like you can pay big money. You can get people, gold cards or whatever it is that they're selling. There's lots of things, but just to put in perspective, China has about a third of the global output when it comes to manufacturing. We have about 16%. So in dollar terms, that's 4.8 trillion versus 2.5 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
So China is a little less than double what we are. Okay. But they have 5 times the amount of people compared to us. So with 1/5 of the population they have, we are doing half of what they're doing in manufacturing. So like, I'm just saying, apples to apples, like we're no slouch.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. Go manufacturing. All right.
Yeah, go USA. Yeah.
All right.
But we can be better. We should be number 1.
That's right. That's right. And we will be. Undoubtedly. All right. Let's see. So I'm not even going to talk about what happened on this market today because it became irrelevant with the announcement about China. So let's just go right into the bonds. We've got, there it is right there. There's the headline. Okay. So, but the bonds are still up. We're still at 4.326. Will the breakthroughs in trade bring finally? That change. Okay, no, it's good. Okay, will the breakthroughs in trade finally bring the bond market down, or do we have to go through some of these bond purchases, some of these auctions in order to get these bonds to start moving down, or what? What do you think? What do we need to get these bonds off the dime and back into the threes?
I think you're gonna have to see a couple things. I think you're gonna have to see a continuation of inflation to slow. You're gonna probably have to see the Fed start to do a little easing, and I think you're gonna have to see I don't want to say any like deals per se, but you're just going to have to see more progress in calming when it comes to tariffs, more people coming to the table to work amicably. But I think at the end of the day, Randy, it's going to come down to the economy and what we're seeing with inflation numbers. And I mean, I know we're about to get to it, but I think the real story when it comes to inflation is about to be, you're about to see inflation, in my opinion, fall off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain why in a second, but that's what I think it's going to take for the 10-year to get back with a 3 handle.
Okay. All right. So
what do you think?
So one of the big drivers of inflation is oil. Oil is a category you're very familiar with. By the way, I didn't know it, but CERN Basher has a history in the oil and gas business too. He was raised in Calgary from age 12 to an adult, and or 10 or 12, I forget. And he was for a while. He was working in the natural gas field in terms of the financial side of natural gas. So now we have 2 experts on my channel that have some of that area. Okay, so oil it really dropped yesterday, but it's bounced back. But we're still under 60 at 59.63. What do you think?
Well, like I told you a second ago, this is okay. Sorry, I was just seeing this demand through Europe and China. This is going to be why I think inflation is going to fall off a cliff. It's going to be because of oil. And then the other one's housing. I think you're going to start to see that come through the numbers. So housing and oil go down, inflation goes down, period. End of story. Like that is your inflation. Like if you wanted to like say what solves inflation, everything else can be inflating. Groceries, everything. But if oil and housing are going down, there's no inflation. They dominate PCE or CPI. They dominate it.
Right.
So I think that's why we're going to see it go down. These are very interesting levels for oil. Like I've told you several times,
Mhm.
$60 is more or less the break even
Mhm.
for the U.S. oil sector. So it was very interesting to see OPEC say that they're going to pump out extra. I think what was it, 400 million barrels.
Yep.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got Argentina continuing to increase their numbers. You've got now US and Canada in this, energy kind, but Canada maybe not so much because he comes out the very first day and says every single thing that's going to happen in Canada has to be based on net zero. And if you do anything that doesn't take into consideration net zero in your planning, you will be punished.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, is he laying down the people in Saskatchewan and Alberta, or no, what do you call it? Calgary, yeah, Calgary, Alberta, right? Ah, Calgary, Alberta, right? Yes,
While you're second guessing yourself there, did I say 400 million barrels?
you meant
If I
400.
did, I meant
You meant
400,000.
400,000. Yeah,
Yes.
I would
Just,
have corrected you, but I wasn't sure enough.
oh, yeah. I
We're
just like,
dealing
did I
in hundred
just say?
thousands and millions and billions and trillions now. It's hard to keep all those things straight.
Yeah.
Drives us crazy. Anyway, so I just don't know so long story short, Canada may or may not be that big of a deal with regard to increasing energy supplies, but the United States is obviously very much going to do that. Now Saudi says they're going to do it. And part of that, of course, is to kind of push Iran and Russia into making deals. So I think that's one of the things that Trump is pushing Saudi to actually do more to help him get that done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens from here because what's going to happen if we keep seeing oil at these levels or lower, m- my prediction, which I mean, go look it up. I'm not making these numbers up. Um, these have been the same since I was in the oil industry. But
Right.
at 60 barrels, or $6 a barrel, it that's essentially your break even for any new wells.
Right.
So that would mean that companies will probably will focus on existing wells or what's the word? Sorry, it's been a while. Essentially, rehydrating. I don't know what the right word was. I can't remember, but old wells that they would have closed up.
Right.
So, and that's where a lot of fracking comes in as well.
Mhm.
And at that point, the cost economics for existing wells is different. Like that can be as low as say 30, probably more like $40 a barrel. So there's profitability to be had there, but you can only dig deep into that for so long, before you need to have your pipeline and going out and exploring for new wells. So I
Yeah.
don't know. So it'll be interesting. I
Yeah.
think the only way that we can really balance all this out is if we get a lot of oil deals with some of these negotiations.
Right. 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 Okay. We talked about gold. It's at 3409. We got silver up only a little bit, up 0.04%, but 33.40, not too bad. And copper up 0.35%. I think copper goes back over $5. That's just me, not investment advice. In fact, it's not even close to investment advice because I wouldn't buy it at these levels. But I think it will go over $5. Just because, and I think silver and copper are both going to be impacted by all the spending on data centers and electronics. And then you have the dollar trading a little lower. I don't know why, but I I'm not going to outguess the dollar right now. Bitcoin recovered nicely back up to 97,000. $97,001.
Yeah, that's a big recovery, huh?
Yeah, yeah. This is, I think,
It,
the highest it's been in a couple of weeks, few weeks.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting because this level would be the equivalent of Tesla being back, what, in the 400s?
Right, right, yeah, yeah.
Let's see. I think that's correct. Uh, let's see, 97. Yeah, so it was in the 97s, like around mid-February. So Tesla around mid-February was, if we look at around mid-February was, call it, oh, maybe not quite. So call it like 340, 350.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Well,
not saying that that's where we're going,
yeah,
but, especially based off my last comments, but
yeah.
the opportunity is there.
Is there? Yes. Okay. And then the equities in the pre-market, Dow recovering up to 82. The S&P are 6.69%. S&P up 46 points or 0.82%. And the NASDAQ up 189 or 0.95. So the even ahead of the Fed decision tomorrow, the news about China obviously having a huge impact. In the meantime, we've got Pakistan and India trying to screw up the day by starting yet another war. But so far, I don't think it's having much impact on our markets.
So far, but I think that was part of why gold shot up right after the market
Could have
closed.
been. Yeah, yeah, could be. All right, last thoughts as we wrap this one up.
Yeah, I guess last thoughts would be everyone, I would say including you and me, Randy, would have guessed that by this time we would have been easily in the 300s, maybe 350 plus, as we see that they're not pushing out the date for Robotaxi or anything.
Right.
And we're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say use that, like, if you haven't seen the pattern on like thinking, oh, I think this should happen by this point because of XYZ. Oh, it didn't happen. Like, we've seen this happen so many times. I would say anything you think should happen, think that the opposite is probably what's going to happen. And like, honestly, like, that's not investment advice, but if it were, it's really good investment advice to take a kind of contrarian approach to things. And it'll help you, I think, be a little more realistic with your expectations. I mean, like, don't get me wrong, like, in my opinion, we should be probably at $5-6 a share just because I see what's going on.
Right.
I use FSD every day. I got an update yesterday or 2 days ago, but it's like a fake update. I don't know what else to say.
It was the
It's
spring thing, whatever it's called.
I don't even know if that's what it was, but maybe it was. But I am seeing a couple different things that are happening. But still, it's not like it's what they've been working on. But clearly, they've been working on stuff. So if it's going to be better than what I have right now, and even if they took another year to get some, like, we're there. Like, it's just so beyond obvious. It's like you've got two puzzle pieces left, and you're like, oh, I wonder if they're going to finish it, and you had to put a bet on it. So, but anyways, I would just say temper expectations, especially if you're doing anything with options. And I think that would probably be a better move. Otherwise, if you're a long-term investor like we are, buy and hold works every time.
Yeah, 100%. All right. With that thought in mind, thank you as always for coming on and helping us out. And for all of you out there, as always, it has been great talking to you.